Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Well, this one was a wave of emotions. I cried 4 times while watching this movie. Granted, I don't think I've ever cried 4 times in any movie, and that was me also holding back multiple times while the film was playing out.
Yes, it's definitely very high on emotions, whether it be happy tears or sad tears. I cried a lot during this movie too. I didn't keep track, but I know it was a lot. So if you make sure you bring tissues because that is definitely a must.
All my tears were sad tears. I cried during the sad moments, and the visual imagery in this movie is heartbreaking at times, especially in regards to animal cruelty. So
Yes.
you're forewarned. This movie definitely does not hold back when it comes to the origin and the past of Rocket. And you saw that in the trailers. This movie definitely stabs you right in the heart while you're watching this. They do not hold back. I was Niagara Falls within the first 10 minutes of this movie and multiple times after that.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has probably one of the best villains. Or like worst villains, if you want to say, just of how bad he is as like being dark and grim and maniacal. In the High Evolutionary, like, man, he really takes that, what I really like about making your villains villains and just having our characters go up against this type of villain was grand.
And that's the thing, is a lot of the emotion did come because of what the villain does in this movie. The High Evolutionary is brutal. There are times while I was watching this movie and I felt like this villain is worse than Thanos at times. At least Thanos had the good grace to just snap people out of existence. This dude is horrible, and I loved it. I think it's one of the best villains in Marvel, let alone in the Guardians
Best
of the
acted,
Galaxy.
too. It was
Absolutely. And it was great to see the Guardians of the Galaxy do what they could to try and stop this villain, because it felt dire. It felt like there were huge stakes involved for everybody in the main cast as well as everybody in this section of the galaxy. I just felt like their ass was on the line essentially, and anybody could have gone
Yeah.
while watching this movie.
It's true. There were a lot of moments where you felt that our characters could have gone because, one, this is the final of James Gunn's version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, so there was definitely more high stakes in this one, to the point where you're kind of at the edge of your seat, like holding on to dear life as you're watching this movie. But James Gunn didn't disappoint with this one. I think that it set the trilogy, like it ended on a strong note for them, because it, sometimes it could fall flat, and this movie definitely didn't fall flat at all. The production design, the character design for a lot of the characters in the movie was absolutely great.
Top notch. Just the creativity behind the design of each of these aliens in this world, as well as just the production, everything, practical and CG, was top notch across the board. It felt like they didn't want to hold back, even when it came to dialogue, when it came to character development, when it came to the violence. Like, this movie was what I was hoping we would get more from Marvel. And when it came to the comedy and the emotion, it didn't ever feel like the heartbreak and the sad portions were being undercut by the comedy. It felt like when you got that comedy, it was a sigh of relief. Like, you were hoping for something to break that sadness and put you back on track to being happy again, because they let the heartbreaking moments play out, and then when you get the happiness or the comedic moments, you feel better. Like, you are just chomping at the bit for more of the humor, because you're going through some dark moments to get to that humor.
I think there was a great balance between the heart and the humor in the movie, because, like you said, when they had the heart and the heartbreak happen, they let that simmer and play out in full, and then you kind of slowly transition to having those funny happy moments there too. It didn't feel like, yeah, you're in an emotional moment and then all of a sudden it gets cut because there's like some joke or something like that. It didn't do
Right.
that. It had that balance very well, where it eased that transition into the laughter, to the point where it's like you're crying, sitting there crying, and then all of a sudden then you get those jokes and you're kind of like, okay, maybe I could feel a little bit better, and then they bring you right back into that heartbreak.
Yeah, it was definitely a 1-2 punch when it came to the emotions and the happiness, because there is a lot of happiness in this movie.
Yes.
There is a lot of hilarity. It is funny. The Guardians of the Galaxy are so damn good together. And so when they have their moments, it felt like they just carried on from the holiday special, which, by the way, really feel like you should watch that holiday special if you haven't and you're planning to see Guardians 3. It just adds so much more fulfillment going from 2 to 3. There is things in this that you should already know had you watched the holiday special, versus it kind of being like, whoa, really? I didn't know that. So by watching the holiday special, there is plenty of fulfillment when it comes to certain aspects of this movie that got filled in during that holiday special.
Yeah, it doesn't take away anything from the movie if you didn't see it, but we still think it is a must to watch it.
I think it's just more fulfilling for the characters, especially when it comes to Drax and Mantis.
Yes.
And everybody got such good character development in this movie, to the point where everybody felt like they were being served. Like their characters were being service to the story. And I loved how it ends up getting a resolution to essentially what every member of the Guardians of the Galaxy was working on from the very first movie. I feel like does get a payoff all the way to the very end in the third film.
Yeah, it does. It like based on the trailer, you think like, okay, it's going to be heavily more focused on Rocket, but I feel like James Gunn did a very good job of kind of, yes, there is that core with Rocket for sure, and he does have a lot of that emotional heartache right like at the core of the movie itself,
right?
But it still allowed for the other characters to breathe and have more with them too within this movie, that didn't feel like it was shoehorned in or anything like that. Like it felt seamless when you had the other Guardians that in the movie,
especially Nebula and Gamora, which I felt like did their own thing. It wasn't like, oh, we're sisters. I felt like we got the sisters aspect in Endgame, where this one was Nebula as her own person, Gamora as her own person, and how they work in the Guardians of the Galaxy team. And I love how they played those characters and how we do end up learning about this new Gamora that we don't necessarily know other than the little bit that we got in Endgame. And I've been chomping at the bit to know more about that Gamora. And they do a damn good job at giving us that character as her own character that isn't part of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but is just a sliver that we got in Endgame, and how Nebula has become even more essential to the team, to Quill, to Rocket, to everybody. And it really does solidify the team a hell of a lot more with the holiday special and this one back to back, to the point where like I'm in love with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Every member, even the secondary members that we ended up getting, like Cosmo and Kraglin and everybody on Nowhere. I'm pulling for every single one of them throughout this movie.
The movie has a lot of great action sequences as well. There is a tracking shot that was a lot of fun. Plus the soundtrack that is a part of the movie, but also the score. I think that John Murphy did a wonderful job of incorporating, his score into the Guardians and then the theme. I love the theme. They always have the theme.
See, and the music itself, the music is always going to be a banger when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy. The song choices. And I do love that they do utilize the songs that were in the trailers for the movie, because that gave you a feel in the trailers for what you can expect from the movie. Mm-hmm. But there was plenty more in the movie to, pull out of James Gunn's playlist to make it feel like a Guardians of the Galaxy, but fresh because they're new songs. And the score, yes, utilizing John Murphy's score, which I do want to listen to it more. I need to listen to some more scores because John Murphy's got some bangers. If you ever listen to Sunshine or 28 Days Later, utilized again in Kick-Ass, but I need to listen to his scores because it does kind of take a back seat, it feels, to the songs that are chosen for the soundtrack. But Kevin Kiner also did additional music on this one. So I really got to listen closer to the score. But yes, I do wish there was more of the Guardians of the Galaxy type music that we did get in the first movie and the second movie. It does feel minimal in this one. Very minimal. But very again, small, of course. I do feel like if I'm listening to the score on its own, maybe I'll appreciate it a little bit more because there's so much going on the screen. There is tons of stuff going on the screen, especially during those action sequences, which they did put a lot of thought into the choreography of those action sequences. Because when one happens, when you get an action sequence, like, it's a bop in itself, regardless of music, but just the action that they put together and how it plays out and the fun that you get when it comes to the Guardians of the Galaxy doing what the Guardians of the Galaxy do. It's also a character of the movie just when that team comes together and pulls off any one of their action sequences as the team.
And as always, when it comes to Marvel movies, you know that there is going to be a mid-credit scene, but there is also a post-credit scene as well.
Yeah, definitely stay till the end. It is, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. You want more as you're watching it. And while watching this movie, there were certain aspects where I did feel like certain scenes were dragging on a little too long. Maybe we're hanging on the comedy a little bit too much here. But then the other part of me was like, this is the last time we're getting this James Gunn version of Guardians of the Galaxy. I want more time with everybody. So, like, there was just a part of me that's like, well, this is going on a little too long. Then the other half is like, nah, take what you can get because this is it. After this movie is over, like, we are pretty much done with that iteration of James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy.
I agree. There are moments where it kind of drags on a little bit, kind of in the middle. But like you said, it's like, it's the last one. We want to have more time with these characters. So it didn't bother me that much at all.
No, because it is earned in other ways. Yes. Like, they pop off in many other different ways to really just get you going. And man, between the crying, the cheering, the laughing, I think I hit Vanessa like multiple times as things was happening, whether it was bad or good. But Guardians of the Galaxy did end up checking a lot, if not all of the boxes when it came to a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, a Marvel movie, a superhero movie, an third finale of a trilogy. Like, they had a lot to accomplish, and I think that they accomplished it very well, and it does make me very hopeful for where we're going with James Gunn in the DC universe.
Yeah, I think Adam Warlock also too was very minimal in this movie. I do prefer him in like more of the comics and like the video game,
especially. I love him in the game
versus in the movie. Like, I feel like you could take him or leave him. Like, that's kind of like what his character was in this story.
Yeah, it was more for jokes, but he's a powerhouse, man. Yes. And he caused a lot of destruction when it came to interjecting himself into the Guardians of the Galaxy story. You couldn't have this movie without Adam Warlock. So, and that's from the get-go. So, guys, obviously, we've gushed enough about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We can't wait for you guys to check it out. Let us know, what are you most excited for? Is it the music? Is it the action? Is it the characters? Are you an emotional type? Because I'm telling you, if you are, or you're an animal lover,
bring those tissues.
Like, I'm dreading actually watching it again for certain aspects of the story because it's going to just rip me apart. But like I said, you are comforted in other ways while watching this movie. But let us know what you're most excited for down in the comments below. What's your favorite Guardians of the Galaxy movie between the first two? And after you watch this one, is this one your number one? Let us know down there. You can also like and subscribe.
And do the thing on our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Discord.
All the social networking gin joints, you know where they are. Kick into the party, fuel the party, keep the party going on our Patreon. Check out the other reactions we have on our channel. We're going through our Better Late Than Never series, which is our retro reaction series of films of the past. So make sure you check those out. But thanks so much, and as always,
Now it's time to say goodbye.
this party is over.
Bye.
Bye.